Hi, I'm Rachel, and welcome to my Autumn 2023 quarterly wrap-up. I use these quarterly wrap-ups for my writing life, and the end of Autumn 2023 means I'm about to enter into Winter 2024, which is a prime time for resolutions, but the way I like to do things is in little 3-month segments, which hopefully makes the goals a little more attainable. One would assume, although there is a part in all of my videos where I have to ask if I met my goals or if a certain SEPTA will have to visit me. So anyway, I have a fair bit to cover in these videos. I siphon them off into sections and you'll see the headers coming down the screen right here. And let's get into it right now. So to take a little bit of a step back, I'll just acknowledge that in terms of current events, this has been a really difficult quarter. And in fact, writing has been a bit of a salve for me in trying to come to terms with what's been going on. And in fact, during my NaNoWriMo, NaNoBlogmo process, I ended the month by doing a personal retrospective about my experience after October 7th. And so that I found to be actually really helpful, if a little more personal than my usual public writing fare. But yeah, speaking of NaNoBlogmo and NaNoWriMo, we have another NaNoWriMo in the bag, my 20th NaNoWriMo in fact, which was a really interesting year, more up and down than I would have thought, but I did make my goal of 50,000 words and got a lot done on various projects, including something so like personally cathartic as I just mentioned, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But otherwise, in terms of the quarter, it does feel like I don't have a whole lot to share. The most exciting news is that the paperback of the Days of Awe anthology came out in early December. I am very excited about that. My short story Mishkan was published in here starting in September as in the ebook, and now it's available in print, and so I'm really excited to dive into this whole collection. And yeah, you can find Mishkan right here near the back. And I'll link to more information about that down below. I remain active with my beta reading group and the DC Writer Salon, doing my usual sorts of meetups with them. I do have, a lot in sight, especially with the Writer Salon that I belong to. We're also, of course, entering into the new quarter, and there's a lot of exciting new possibilities on the calendar of things I could attend that really sound like they could be fun or intriguing. So that might come up again in my upcoming resolutions. And alas, I'm still off the bandwagon with the London Writers Salon, which I joined earlier this year, which is a online through Zoom hourly writing session, or actually there's 4 sessions, each at 8 a.m. in different time zones every weekday, and I think some weekend stuff as well. And alas, I haven't really carved that time into my schedule lately, but I have been watching a few of Jenna Moressi's write-ins, so that's been a little helpful, at least, to having that structure to doing some writing on my own, and I'll link to her stream down below. And I think that's about all I have to say in terms of an overview, so I'm going to pivot to my blogging section now, because I maintain 3 blogs where I usually update them at least once a month. And during NaNoWriMo, I've been updating a couple of them, in fact, in November and December a little more often. These are blogs that are not necessarily related to my fiction writing, which is the main purpose of my resolutions in these quarterly wrap-ups, but it is a major part of my general writing life, so I figured I'd take the time to shout some stuff out here with my favorite blog posts of the quarter. So I'm going to start with Jewish DC, where I capture Jewish events and news going on in the greater Washington, D.C. area. And back in October, I went to the special exhibit of the Capitol Jewish Museum, which I have been chronicling a bit on that blog ever since it opened because I'm so excited about it. And I wanted to squeeze in this new special exhibit on RBG. It's in fact called the Notorious RBG, and it was created in conjunction with the book. Yeah, I was so glad to be able to go. I found out all sorts of interesting tidbits about her life, which I chronicled in the blog post linked below. I am eagerly looking forward to the next special exhibit at the museum, which I hope will be coming soon. In my reading and writing blog, I'm going to highlight the BookTube Prize because every December, these past few years, I've been making a prepping for the BookTube Prize post. The BookTube Prize was started by Robert Sheard on YouTube, but it's open to all sorts of online literary and nonfiction readers, where we judge the best in literary fiction and nonfiction published in the US and English the year before. And in fact, in January, we will be selecting the long list for 2024 of 2023 releases. Robert should be emailing us the contenders soon, which I'm very excited about. And I tried to take a gander about some of the titles that might make it onto that list, the buzziest titles. I used the LitHub's ultimate best of lists, where they aggregated a bunch of best of end of year lists, and I looked at the ones that were on the most lists that were of the most interest to me, and I found a fair few. I haven't read any of them yet, but maybe with the BookTube Prize I'll be able to. I'm very excited to see what will be in store for us this year. And finally, on Chava's Footsteps, I tend to cover broader Jewish news and pop culture, and I felt like I couldn't let this quarter go by without giving some sort of shout out to the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes adaptation, which is a Hunger Games prequel novel, which takes place about 64 years before the events of the original series. It's sort of giving an overview of President Snow's Bildungsroman of sorts about what pivots him into a fascist direction, and also it talks a bit about how the games became a spectacle. And I really loved the book a lot, and I reread it before going into the movie. In fact, right before going into the movie, which might have been detrimental to enjoying the movie. I did like the movie a lot, but I didn't like head over heels fall in love with it, which is something that's unusual for me with the Hunger Games movies. And it is, you know, the director who did most of the movies and, you know, the production team that did all the movies. So that was a surprise to me. I think also other fans kind of feel the same, that it's just not as good as the book. And that's a little bit of a shame, but it was fun to go through and review the movie and talk about, you know, what I felt worked and didn't work. And I haven't rewatched it. I do want to do it. I do think I'd still like the movie a lot, but it was an interesting experience that I wasn't head over heels for it the way that I was for the originals. Well, speaking of maybe being disappointed, we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this post, where I go into my autumn 2023 goals recap. I'm going to reshare the 3 goals I set for myself 3 months ago, and then see if a certain SEPTA has to visit me. So starting with goal number 1, we have NaNoWriMo 2023, complete a loose draft of my fantasy project, which was one of those things that felt like it would be more doable before I started writing than after I started writing. If you watched my NaNoWriMo vlogs, I talked in a few of them about how this particular year brought home the point to me that NaNoWriMo isn't actually conducive to my writing process for fiction, that I just take longer to get through all these granular details. So even though I had far less than 50,000 words left of my novel, and I certainly got through a fair few of them during Nano, I did not reach the end of the novel and the drafting by any means. I did get out a few good chapters that I've even shared with my beta reading group. I also wrote some skeleton chapters, which helped at least propel me into the next few chapters. By skeleton, I really mean some snippets of scenes and a lot of notes to myself, and that was kind of the best I could do, trying to keep on par with the, you know, the 1667 words per day, you know, constantly having to, you know, have that 50K benchmark in mind for the 30th. So it didn't work out the way I hoped, but, you know, I did make progress, so I'm still happy about that. And of course, I also made the 50K overall through my rebellious writing as well. So I'll move onward or backward perhaps to goal number 2, which was Preptober 2023, which was to overhaul the fantasy project outline again. Preptober is the nano word referring to October, where we're prepping for our projects in November. And indeed, I did overhaul my outline as expected once in October and again in December. So it's just sort of part of my process. I don't get into so much of the granular details in the outline. So once I do in the actual writing, it does shift a bit of where I think the upcoming chapters will go. So yep, I'm still very much a work in progress, and my general modus operandi is that I guess I'm slowly realizing the goal here of the story I want to tell. And finally, my goal number 3 was to submit my flash fiction piece to places, because I did write a little bit of a flash fiction piece earlier this year, and I submitted it to one place, so that could kind of count, right? I'm waiting to hear back from them, of course, and technically I accomplished this goal in terms of submitting. I don't know if it has to be plural or not, and in either way, I suppose I don't have to quibble too much over that part, because we know from my earlier goals that I did not meet them overall. So.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
You know, I think I could distract her attention with the new House of Dragon teaser that came out about a month ago. Those people are certainly committing a bunch of shameful behavior that maybe she should ring her bell at instead of ringing it at me. Please do that, Septa Unella. And meanwhile, I am looking forward to the future and forward into a brand new year as I announce my Winter 2024 goals announcement. I'm certainly hoping that I can get through these goals in the first 3 months of the year rather than taking all year to get to them. We shall see. But here they are, starting with goal number 1, which is my stretch goal, which is to finish a definitive draft of my fantasy project. I mean, already I couldn't even finish a draft during Nano with all of its promises of getting out a bunch of words at once. I'm just a writer who writes kind of slowly, but I do have my beta reading group keeping me on some sort of track of writing regularly for them. So I'm hoping I'm in the final 10 chapters of my outline and my thoughts for this project. I am hoping and assuming that no matter what, the end is in sight. Then goal number 2 is to sign up for my salon's February challenge. I mentioned in my general intro that my writer salon, the DC Writer Salon, has a bunch of events more than just the regular weekly write-ins I attend that I want to take part in. I also want to resume my participation in the fantasy and maybe the short story affinity groups, but there's something new that's starting in February, I think, in terms of setting a monthly challenge for ourselves, because as we can tell from this video, even quarterly challenges aren't always the easiest to make, so maybe I could make a smaller challenge in February and see how I do with that, with all of the backing of the group, and we'll just see how this challenge month idea goes for all of us. And finally, to wrap it up by returning to an earlier goal, I have submit flash fiction piece to more places. Because obviously, if you get rejected from one place as a writer, you know that shouldn't be the end-all be-all of things. There's plenty more fish in the sea. So definitely hoping that I can, keep my spirits up with some of my shorter writing, even as my fantasy project will be taking up a lot of my drafting energy for the foreseeable future. And that about covers it for me now. You can find links for everything I've been talking about in terms of my blog writing and my fiction writing and the House of Dragons teaser trailer linked down below. We are officially into 2024, so Happy New Year to everyone. And in that vein, you should see me next on this channel for my official sort of beginning to the booktube year, where I recap my favorite reads of 2023 and I highlight some anticipated books that should hopefully be coming out in the first half of 2024. So stay tuned for that. And I hope you all are having a wonderful holiday as we're wrapping up the December and into January festivities. I hope you feel good about where you are with your personal projects. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Keep writing, and I'll see you next time.